What's up, A to Z Sports Picks here this Friday afternoon. Austin Stanley and Vegas insider Brian Edwards. Alan Bell, according to his Twitter account, is in South Beach. So he's living it. Brian lives the beach, so it's not too much different from what Alan's got going on. But I'm happy to fill in for Alan Bell of CBS Sportsline, who normally hosts A to Z Sports Picks, presented by BetMGM every Tuesday and Friday here on A to Z Sports. So we have a big show because there is a big game coming up on Sunday, between Tennessee and Florida. Brian is a Florida Gator guy. I obviously went to Tennessee, so there's a little different dynamic here about this. The winner of the Tennessee-Florida game gets a double bye in the SEC tournament in Nashville coming up next week. The loser does not. So there is a lot riding on this. We'll talk about how important this is for both teams, and especially the Vols coming up. Then is Jerry Stackhouse in trouble at Vandy? We'll go over the weekend betting wire. We've got a lot of games tonight. We'll see what Brian feels about the college basketball slate tonight. A busy Saturday basketball slate tonight. The Friday parlay. I've got two strategies that I've been riding to some decent success over the last couple of weeks. And I'm a nobody. Like, Brian does this for a living. He's the true pro. And so I'm curious to see what Brian feels about my betting strategy that I've been on. So we'll get the true pro's opinion on that. I'm just trying to win, right? And then we'll send you guys the weekend with some games you're watching on Saturday. And then we both got screwed this past week, Brian. Alan was right on Tuesday. You were wrong. So we have to revisit where both of us messed up earlier in the week. So welcome in. Glad to be talking to you guys on a Friday.
Yeah, glad Austin's filling in. Forgive my volume, my voice. The pollen season has hit. I feel great. My voice sounds awful. I'm gonna muscle through it, and I hope it doesn't bother the listeners. Hey, do us a favor, retweet the show. Hit the like button on Facebook, and as always, help spread the word. And hey, for Austin being an amateur, he and Zach have actually been crushing it since they got their betting career started. Since everybody in Tennessee, fortunately, got the legalization set up.
Yes, and hopefully that can continue to stay that way. So let's get this thing going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports Picks. I'm Austin Stanley in for Alan Bell. He is Brian Edwards of VegasInsider.com. We are presented by BetMGM, the king of sports books. All you got to do is download that BetMGM app, use our promo code ATOZ Sports, and you can get a risk-free bet for up to $600 with that first deposit on that first bet. BetMGM is where to go. Download the app. Use our promo code ATOZ Sports right there. So, Brian, let's jump right into it because Tennessee, Florida, it's on Sunday. So there's no line out right now. But as we were just kind of talking pre-show, there's a lot riding on this game on Sunday between the Vols and Gators for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's for the double bye. But, to me, that means a lot more than just the double bye in the SEC tournament. You don't want to have to play, especially if you keep winning and make it to the finals. You do not have to want to play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 4 games in 4 days, and then have the selection committee send you somewhere to play on Thursday and have the noon game after you just played 4 games in 4 days. So you would so much rather start on Friday and have it the maximum be 3 games in 3 days if you win. In other words, if I'm Tennessee or Florida and I don't win on Sunday and I have to play starting Thursday, I don't want to win all the way to the finals. I'd rather be in better shape, not fatigued, and just win 1 game, lose a heartbreaker in game 2, go home, rest up, and get ready for the big tourney. That's just always been my thought process.
Especially if you're Tennessee, because Rick Barnes talked earlier this week, I guess it was yesterday, about how banged up his team is. Josiah Jordan-James has been dealing with an injury. Something's going on with John Fulkerson. Not really sure what his issue is he's been in a really bad slump over the last couple of weeks. So Tennessee needs to get healthy. I think they need this win. It's the revenge win after they got blown out in Gainesville. So what are your expectations on the line for this game? This is in Knoxville. So senior night for Fulkerson, senior night for Eve Pons. What do you think the line's going to be as we're projecting on a Friday afternoon?
I mean, I think Tennessee will be a short favorite, anywhere between 2 and 4. I would think 3. Big time revenge game for Tennessee. And not only did Florida, and that was the worst game Tennessee's played all season.
No doubt.
Florida didn't have Castleton, and they didn't have and Scotty Lewis. So 2 starters that are healthy now. But Tennessee's definitely got the revenge angle. But both teams have been very inconsistent lately, and Tennessee struggles to get buckets. Florida, sometimes we struggle to get buckets. Sometimes we struggle to get stops. Sometimes we struggle to get boards. But, yeah, it should be a good game and very important for both teams, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. As some emergency personnel flies by Brian's house, it sounded like there. All right, so
I don't know if you heard that or not.
So you mentioned Joe Lenardi, where he's got the Vols. How could they improve their NCAA tournament standing with what seed line they could be on if they beat Florida? Like, where are they at now? Where could they end up going if they beat Florida and then maybe win a couple games in the tournament?
Yeah, so Lunardi has got the Vols facing 10th seeded North Carolina, which sounds awfully odd to say that out loud. The good news would be they're in the same bracket as what I think would be the worst number 2 seed, that being Houston. I think if the Vols beat Florida and if they win 2 games in the SEC tournament, I think they can move up to the 6th line. If they beat the Gators and win the SEC tournament, I think you're definitely talking about the 5 line. And depending on what happens to everybody else, maybe an outside chance at the 4, but I doubt it. Now, lose to Florida, lose in the first SEC game.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably in the 8-9 slot, probably the 9. Not that there's any difference between being the 8 and the 9.
Right.
So, and as for Florida, Lunardi has them as an 8 against UConn, a 9, with Illinois being the 1 seed in that bracket. And, I think the same for Florida. Lose to Tennessee, lose the first game of the tournament, you could drop to a 9 or a 10. But flip side of that, win a couple in Nashville. Yeah, I think definitely Florida could get to a 6.
Interesting stuff there. So that game's coming up on Sunday. Vandy had a big win midweek over Cincinnati. They were a big underdog and won that game. Nice, huge day for Scottie Pippen Jr. He scored like 36 points for Vandy to win. They're a bad team. They haven't improved much under Jerry Stackhouse. Do you feel like Stackhouse could be on the hot seat?
Well, you would know better than I, because I know that Alan brought up, and I think I saw a headline that he made a couple of controversial comments that might not be going over well, but watching from a distance and watching from the against the spread standpoint, this team's still playing hard, and they've had injuries, and they are 7-1 and 3 pushes in their last 11 games against the spread. So they are covering. They win dominant fashion at Cincy. They beat an Ole Miss team that's on the bubble last week. Barely lost to Alabama and Kentucky. So, I think they're still playing hard, which speaks well to Stackhouse. And they've had injuries. So I don't, but more. I don't know how I know that the AD is long gone.
Yeah.
They signed him. So what do you think?
Well, I think he gets at least another year. I do think they've played really hard. You're right about that. They've got talent. They just haven't been able to put anything together. They've been a tough out for a lot of teams down the stretch of this little run they've got here, and an opportunity to beat Ole Miss again too. So I think he's safe for probably one more year. But I do like the name Parker Moser. Is that who you brought up to maybe have an eye on somebody who could get a big job?
Yeah, at Loyola Chicago, obviously took him to a Final Four a few years ago. Has had 21 seasons, about to take him to the tournament again. And he would seem like a guy that would be gettable for Vandy. Vandy and hoops is not, the worst job in the conference like it is in football.
Right.
Stallings, Fogler back in the day. I mean, they've had plenty of even oh my gosh, CM Newton back before your time, but
Yeah, that was absolutely before my time.
Yeah, but I mean, Will Purdue and the lefty Barry Goheen. I mean, they went to the Sweet 16 one year. You can be successful at Vandy. It's not the worst job in the SEC in basketball. So I think he would be gettable. But I agree with you. I think Stackhouse should get one more year.
All right, let's move on to our Friday parlay here on A to Z Sports Picks. Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider. I'm Austin Stanley in for Alan Bell. Brian, you're staying away from the college basketball. You said you were not touching that stuff tonight.
Well, tonight,
Friday.
But since we spoke, I've found some games for tomorrow, so I can whip up my parlay with tomorrow's games. But you go first.
Yeah, I will start with my Friday parlay, and I've been writing two strategies over the last 2 weeks. We're like just about over a month into our BetMGM relationship, which has been going fantastic for both business and for both my winnings on the BetMGM app that I love so much. I actually spent more time on the BetMGM app than any other app on my phone last week. So it's becoming pretty fun for me. So the two strategies that I've been following, and I don't know how you feel about these because you are the pro. The first one, I don't know what to do because the NBA is on the All-Star break, and I can't do this. I can't ride the one-game parlays how I have been, but I've hit 4 out of the last 5 one-game parlays for the NBA. And how I've been doing this, and I'll give you the example of what happened last night with the Bucks and the Grizzlies, is whenever I feel confident about I know which team's going to win the game, I go with that and I build a one-game parlay, with 4 legs, maybe 5, and I'm feeling really crazy. But I picked the Bucks to win the game because they got blown out by 30 the night before. I picked Giannis to score 25 or more, and I picked John Morant to score 15 or more. And then I just picked over, and I teased it down to 219.5 and parlayed that together. Not huge odds, but plus 120. I'm just out here trying to get winners. Is this a good strategy for something I should be doing?
Well, let me ask you this on the teaser, or wait, you said you had a total in there, right?
Yeah, the total was 219.5. The actual
did it all win?
All of them hit. Barely.
And what was the payout?
It was plus 120.
Okay, because you had some high money line parlay.
Yeah, because I did pick the Bucks to win outright.
Yeah, no, I don't find anything wrong with that strategy. When you go money line favorites, you feel way more confident than laying 6, and so you're not going to get as good a payout. But I'm fine. I'm fine with that strategy. In fact, I recommended one like that. I think it was last Friday. Yeah. I don't mind doing, like, I would never make a straight bet at a price of like minus 180 or more expensive, but I would put it in parlay. Yes.
Right. And that's exactly what I've been doing. And I've hit 4 out of the last 5, the last 2 weeks doing that. The only one I missed was when, it was such a bad beat. It was in the game, the Nuggets where they were down by 1, or they're down by 2. They got the fast break and they should have gone to the, you know what I'm talking about? They should have gone to the lane.
Not to lay it up.
Yes, they tried to shoot a 3 for the win, and that was the one that I've lost because all I needed was that layup to get my total, and they screwed me on that. So outside of that, I've hit 4. Besides that one awful beat on my one-game parlay. Now here's the other parlay strategy that I've been doing, and I've been using some alternate spreads in this as well, and I got burned, and we'll talk about that later on in the show of what happened with Kansas last night. But my parlay that I'm playing tonight, again, it's not anything crazy. I'm just trying to win. I'm new at this. I'm a month into this with BetMGM. I'm just trying to win. So I'm parlaying together just a money line parlay with Marshall, Toledo, Western Kentucky, and Belmont because I'm putting those 4 together. It's plus 130 right now. I'm going to take it. I'm hopefully going to cross my fingers and win that and not try to mess around. I'm going to try to have a nice, relaxing Friday night with my wife, not have to be stressing out and sweating bullets when it comes to the second half of a game like this. But those four together at plus 130, Marshall, Toledo, Western Kentucky, and Belmont money line. How you feel about it?
I like Western Kentucky. With them losing to Houston, their at-large hopes went out the window.
Right.
So, sense of urgency for them. Marshall, 12-point favorite. I'm looking for Western Kentucky on here. Old Dominion.
Yeah.
7-point favorite. Okay, Western. I like those two. Help me out. Who are the other ones?
Toledo versus Ball State.
9-point favorite. Yeah.
And then Belmont. Jacksonville State's a pretty tough team. They've played them a couple times this year.
And Belmont, isn't one of their better players injured?
The big man came back. He came back. Yeah, they lost 2 games in the last couple of weeks without him. And he came back earlier in the week, and they were able to wipe the floor with whoever they were playing that night. So he is back. They're back at full strength.
And where's that conference tournament going down?
Maybe Evansville. It used to be in Nashville, but they moved it north, I think, to Evansville a couple of years ago for the OVC tournament.
I got no complaints on your parlay, buddy.
Okay, I'm just trying to pick winners, man. I'm trying to become like you, but I know it doesn't happen overnight. You've been doing this.
I like what you're doing. I like that. I think that'll hit. So for my parlay, I'm just using all games for tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm going to go Rutgers minus. Or look, we don't have the money line prices available.
Right.
They're minus 2.5, but if it's minus 145, just do that. Minnesota's lost 6 in a row, both straight up and against the spread. Patino's about to get fired, and they have 3 of their key players have missed time here lately. All 3 are game time decisions tomorrow. Okay. Then I like Missouri. Pick them at home to LSU. LSU is 3-6, both straight up and against the spread and 9 road assignments. Missouri was slumping 1-4, but they beat the Gators, and their big stud, Jeremiah Tillman, had missed a couple of those games.
Right.
So he's back. He's at home. And then the third leg, let's go. Actually, I might add a fourth. Third, let's go Purdue money line. They're minus 8, but Indiana 1-5 straight up its last 6, 3-7 straight up last 10. And like Richard Pitino in Minnesota, Archie Miller is a dead man walking, about to get fired. So there's and then let's also go with West Virginia money line. They're minus 7. I don't think Cade Cunningham's going to play. The star for Oklahoma State got hurt his ankle last night. And West Virginia at home after that debacle Tuesday afternoon that we can get to in a little bit. So there we go.
What's the payout for that one?
I did not do the parlay calculator because I do not know the money line odd yet. But it'll definitely be because LSU's a pick 'em, and the Rutgers minus 2.5 will be a cheap money line price. So I would think it might be plus 180 to maybe plus 200.
Okay. So again, Rutgers minus 2.5 or the money line. Missouri pick 'em versus LSU. Purdue money line versus Indiana, and West Virginia money line versus OK State. I like that, and maybe I'll jump on that on the BetMGM app tomorrow when that stuff becomes available. A to Z Sports Picks here live on a Friday afternoon with Alan Bell in South Beach, Brian Edwards, who lives at the beach, here with us here on the show. I'm filling in for Alan. So let's get into some of the other sports, because I know you like we kind of went over some of the Saturday college basketball games, but there is UFC happening, UFC 259 with 3 fights that you've got on the docket here.
Yeah, so I've got 3 picks. There's 3 title fights. UFC 259 tomorrow night. The prelims will probably be on ESPN or ESPN2, but then the pay-per-view starting at 10 Eastern will be, ESPN Plus pay-per-view only. So we've got 3 title fights. The first one, the middleweight champ, which in UFC is 185 pounds, Israel, the last style bender, Adesanya, is moving up to 205 light heavyweight to try to become the 5th UFC fighter to hold 2 belts at one time. He's fighting Jan Blachowicz, a Polish guy who has won 5 in a row, 3 knockouts inside of 2 rounds, and he's 8-1 in his last 9. Adesanya is undefeated, but he's biting off a lot, going up in weight. He weighed in at 201.5 pounds this morning. Blachowicz weighed in at 205, but he'll replenish. He'll probably walk into the octagon. Sorry, guys, the voice.
If anybody knows pollen, it's me. And I'm just lucky that it's early March. And so you down there at the beach in Florida are probably getting it a little bit before. I will sound exactly like you in about 6 weeks. But come NFL draft time, I'll be going through the same stuff.
Thank you for that needed break. All right, so Blachowicz will walk into the octagon tomorrow, probably 225 pounds. He'll be like 25, 30 pounds heavier. Adesanya has not tasted the left hand of a light heavyweight before. He's heavily favored. So I'm going to go with Blachowicz as a plus 200 underdog. Now, that's small change. My big bet, Aljamain Sterling, 135-pound fight. He fights Petr Yan, the new champ, but Yan got the belt by beating over-the-hill Uriah Faber and Jose Aldo past his prime. Aljamain Sterling is the number 1 contender. He is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He just dusted Sandhagen inside of 90 seconds. That's the number 2 contender. Sterling's winning streak has been against tougher competition. It's a pick'em. Love Aljamain Sterling. That's my big bet. And then the third title fight, Amanda Nunes against Megan Anderson. She is so heavily favored. It's you got to pass. But the prop for her to win by KO is around -110 or -120. So Nunes prop by KO -120. Aljamain Sterling pick them maybe -110, maybe even money. And Blachowicz small change plus 200. 3 US.
There you go. Danny says Sterling will beat Jan, book it. And Dustin says Jan get his ass beat. Here, A to Z Sports Picks here live on this Friday afternoon as Brian is efforting through the pollen of I didn't know Santa Rosa Beach had pollen, man. I didn't know you had those issues, but here in Nashville, Tennessee, we get them pretty bad in a couple months. So I've got a couple games in college basketball that I'm watching for tomorrow. I will get to those in a second. And Danny asked me to repeat my parlay for tonight. So I'll do that here in a second. But first, real quick, let me tell you guys about BetMGM. Make sure you download the app and sign up using our promo code ATOZ Sports. And you get a risk-free bet up to $600 with your first deposit and your first bet. BetMGM is the king of sports books. They got those innovative parlays, boosted odds specials every day, game props, and more. Again, I love the NBA one-game parlay. With the All-Star break, they're off, but they're coming back. I've been making money. I've won 4 out of my last 5 in the NBA one-game parlays. Only at BetMGM. Download the app. Also visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 years or older. Must be present in Tennessee. And for gambling problem support, call a Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789. So, Brian, recapping my parlay for tonight in college hoops, I've got all money lines. Marshall money line versus Charlotte. Toledo money line versus Ball State. Western Kentucky money line versus Old Dominion. And then Belmont money line versus Jacksonville State. I think the Belmont one is the one I'm actually most concerned about, even though they should win that. But that Jacksonville State's a pretty tough team, but that pays out plus 130. Just trying to pick winners here, Brian. But I am looking Saturday, a couple of things that caught my eye. Kentucky, South Carolina. I think Kentucky can beat up on a bad South Carolina team. And that's in Lexington, I believe. Vandy +8 against Ole Miss. I think that's a pretty solid option there.
I like Vandy. Was that what you were thinking? Vandy?
Yeah, I like Vandy +8.
The way they're playing right now with Pippen Jr. back, the only concern would be that they be playing their 3rd game in 5 days.
Right.
But
But they're a young team. Like they should be able to like live off of that, like work off of that momentum, especially from what happened last night.
Yeah, I mean, and they were up double digits that whole game pretty much last night. And yeah, I mean, they're playing well, they're playing hard, and they just beat Ole Miss last week.
Right.
And Ole Miss has still got a shot. They're in the next 4 out for Lunardi, but I think they're actually the 8th team out. But that loss to Vandy killed them. Ole Miss has got to win this and at least 2 and get a lot of help, 2 in the SEC tournament. It maybe make the SEC tournament finals. But I like Vandy as well there.
And that was Vandy +8 was the early line that came out this afternoon for that. I was also looking at maybe Florida State. They're right now an 8-point favorite at Notre Dame. I might include them in a money line parlay at some point tomorrow morning whenever I wake up and fire up the BetMGM app tomorrow. So, Brian, we talk about our wins here on the show. We've got to talk about our losses. You and Alan had a pretty good their disagreement on Tuesday's show for that huge matinee game between Baylor and West Virginia, and just an instant classic crazy finish that left you on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I thought I handicapped it correctly. I thought that I was right and Alan was wrong. However, the final score says Alan was right and I was wrong, and I would rather be Alan after that result. So they win by 5 in overtime. I hope your listeners watched the game if they were home from work. It was a 5:00 Eastern tip. Yeah. It was the best game I've watched all year. I thought Michigan-Ohio State a few weeks before was the best game I'd watched, but Michigan pulled away in the last 2 minutes. These teams and I chronicled it on Major Wager. If any of your listeners want to go check it out, I think it was from the 458 mark to the 110 mark. Both teams combined to make 9 of 10 shots. I mean, neither team could miss. It was high level stuff, and West Virginia got a sketchy charge call to go against them, down 3 with 28 seconds left in overtime, and Baylor made 2 free throws, win by 5 in OT.
Hurts. It hurts just like it hurt last night when I thought I had a fantastic parlay. I went no money lines. I went all alternate spreads. So I kind of worked a little bit, but I liked what I had. I had Texas Tech -7.5 versus Iowa State. I had Michigan -3.5 at versus Michigan State. They blew them out. I had West Virginia -3.5 against TCU. Winthrop -3.5 against whoever the hell Longwood is. And then what I thought was an easy one was Kansas -7.5 against
UTEP.
Texas El Paso. Like UTEP was up by double digits for nearly the entire game.
Yeah.
And of course the Jayhawks came back and won the damn thing, but they only won by 5, and it just pissed me off because
at that point you were rooting for UTEP to win outright.
Yeah, I just didn't why would I what does it matter, right? Why does Kansas just come out here and fiddle around for the first 30 minutes of the damn game, and then all of a sudden try to turn it on and just win by 5 just to make me feel even worse. So that cost me a cool $100 or so last night. Just the Jayhawks. And as somebody told me on Twitter, they've been ruining everybody's brackets for years. So why not ruin my parlay last night? So we have some wins. We've got more wins than losses on this show, which is a good thing, but the losses tend to have good stories behind them.
Let me also share another story because it was with our sponsor, our good friends over at BetMGM, and it happened in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And this happened on March 1st. One bettor put a $25 12-team parlay together. He went with all favorites. There were like 4 hockey games. There were like 4 or 5 college basketball games. I don't know if he had any NBA in it. But anyhow, I think
it was just hockey in college.
Yeah, I think so. And they were all minuses, favorite money lines, except for one. Butler money line plus 550 against Villanova, which won. And this guy hit all 12 legs, $25 into 93 $1,740 with our guys, BetMG at BetMGM in Tennessee.
Yeah, pretty incredible. Pretty incredible story there. So, oh, good luck, Brian. You got any last thoughts before we sign off and send everybody good lucks to the weekend?
Yeah, couple of teams at the future book that I think are worth it. Arkansas on fire right now, 65-1. And West Virginia, after losing that game the other day, their odds went back up to 35-1. I think West Virginia can beat anybody. They've got Culver inside. They've got really good guards. Deuce McBride and Sean McNeil can get hot from three at any time. And also Taz Sherman had a game-high 26 against Baylor. And, hey, I hate FSU. They haven't been to a Final Four since 72. I don't think Leonard Hamilton's a good game coach. I think he's a great overall coach. But, man, FSU's playing good to be 35-1. So I'll throw that out. I'm not saying I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, maybe you would never touch Florida State. You right?
Well, maybe I'd buy it so that if they won it, I could.
You would at least have that.
I can bear with it. I'd have a nice
I get you. So. I get you. Real quick, before we head out, Jay Hensley says, what was that last fight prop you had, Brian? I believe he was talking about Nunes, right?
Yeah, the prop for her to win by KO. Remember, it's a 5-round fight, so she'll have 5 rounds to get it done. And so, yeah, it should be like around even money, maybe minus 120. Now, if it gets jacked up, I don't like anything north of like minus 150 or minus 160. I don't like, I just don't think in the long run, you have to pick at a great percentage when you're laying prices like that. That's why I'm okay with Austin doing it in parlays.
Yeah. I mean, I'm doing it in parlays and I'm getting above plus money.
Yes.
And I'm having good success. I've increased my wallet in the BetMGM app by, I believe, like 700%. I think is correct math. We don't like to do math on air, but I believe that makes sense.
Damn.
So I've done that in 1 month's time. So, all right, Brian. Well, hopefully the pollen takes it easy on you this weekend, and hopefully you have some success with whatever you play.
My apologies to the listeners. I'm sure that's tough to deal with.
All right, Brian. Thanks a bunch, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one.
All right, buddy. You as well. Thanks, listeners.